In this podcast episode, the host welcomes back Ben Van Kerkwyk, a researcher and explorer, to discuss his recent travels to Turkey and Egypt. The conversation covers various topics, including ancient civilizations, megalithic structures, and the possibility of advanced technology in ancient times. Ben begins by mentioning his recent appearances on popular podcasts such as Joe Rogan and Andrew Schultz's Flagrant. He also talks about his travels to Turkey and England, where he visited megalithic structures and explored ancient sites. In Turkey, Ben visited the city of Şanlıurfa, also known as Odessa, which has a rich history dating back thousands of years. He specifically mentions his visit to Göbekli Tepe, a site that shook the world when it was discovered in the 1990s. Göbekli Tepe is a complex of stone circles and pillars, some of which are 18 feet tall and weigh over 20 tons. Ben describes the unique architecture and artwork found at the site, including the high-relief carvings on the pillars. He also mentions the ongoing research on Göbekli Tepe, including Martin Sweatman's theory that the site served as a celestial calendar. Ben acknowledges that Sweatman's theory has received criticism but believes it is an interesting perspective worth exploring. Ben then discusses his visit to Karahan Tepe, another site in Turkey that is 10 times larger than Göbekli Tepe and potentially 500 years older. He describes the massive stone pillars and the ongoing excavations at the site. He also mentions the discovery of 40 to 80 more similar sites in the region, indicating a lost chapter of human civilization. The conversation then shifts to Egypt, where Ben talks about his experiences inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. He mentions the ongoing Scanned Pyramids project, which uses muon cosmic ray detection to identify voids and chambers within the pyramid. Ben explains the discovery of a small chamber behind the main entrance and a massive void above the Grand Gallery. He expresses his hope that further exploration of these spaces will be shared with the public. The discussion then delves into the construction of the pyramids and the challenges associated with moving and placing massive stone blocks. Ben acknowledges that there is evidence of primitive methodologies being used, but he questions whether these methods could account for the construction of blocks weighing over 400 tons. He also mentions the lack of inscriptions, burials, or remains found within the pyramids, raising further questions about their purpose and construction. Ben continues by emphasizing the need for further research and exploration to uncover the true history of these ancient civilizations. He believes that there is much more to discover and understand about our past, and that these sites hold valuable information that can reshape our understanding of human history. Ben then delves into the different periods of Egyptian history, starting with the Old Kingdom, during which the pyramids were built. He explains that there were also intermediate periods characterized by civil unrest and disconnection between Upper and Lower Egypt. The Middle Kingdom followed, which was a period of great power for the dynastic Egyptian civilization. This was followed by another intermediate period, the New Kingdom, which featured notable pharaohs such as Ramses II. The civilization eventually came to an end with Cleopatra's suicide in 30 BCE. The guest also questions the dating of the pyramids, suggesting that they may be older than commonly believed. He argues that the pyramids were likely multi-generational projects, similar to large infrastructure projects in modern times. He also points out the precision and knowledge encoded in the pyramids, such as the dimensions of the earth and the ratio of latitude and longitude. Ben believes that either the dynastic Egyptians were far more capable and knowledgeable than previously thought, or they inherited and imitated the advanced technology and knowledge from a lost ancient civilization. He supports the idea of a lost ancient civilization, citing evidence of renovation, reuse, and imitation in Egyptian artifacts and structures. Ben suggests that the dynastic Egyptians may have modeled themselves and their culture after the artifacts and knowledge they inherited. He discusses the concept of inheritance and a longer timeline, noting that the Egyptians themselves trace their history back over 36,000 years. He also mentions the connection between Egypt and the story of Atlantis, which originated from Egyptian sources. The guest provides examples of artifacts that exhibit a dichotomy between advanced technology and primitive craftsmanship. He highlights the precision and symmetry of certain statues and boxes, contrasting them with the crude hieroglyphs carved on them. Ben argues that the writing on the artifacts is not a reliable method for dating, as it could have been added at a later time. He presents examples of reused artifacts with multiple pharaohs' names on them, suggesting that they were inherited, renovated, and reused over time. The conversation then shifts to the evidence of saw cuts found in various ancient Egyptian structures. Ben explains that these saw cuts, which show overcuts and evidence of adjustments, cannot be explained by the grinding technique commonly suggested by mainstream Egyptology. He also mentions the presence of circular saw marks on obelisks and statues, indicating the use of powerful tools to cut hard stone. Ben emphasizes that the precision and complexity of these cuts suggest the use of advanced technology that is not fully understood. The discussion then turns to the analysis of Petrie's core, a spiral groove found in a stone block. Ben explains that this groove has a penetration rate of approximately 1 in 60, which is much greater than what can be achieved with modern tools. He suggests that the tool used to create this groove may have been 500 times more powerful than any modern drill. Ben also mentions the possibility of using plasma or other advanced technologies to cut stone, highlighting the need for open-mindedness and further research in understanding ancient Egyptian technology. The conversation moves on to the speculation about the purpose and function of the precision objects found in ancient Egypt, such as the famous boxes and statues. Ben suggests that precision is often developed for a functional return, and that these objects may have served a specific purpose. He mentions the presence of complex underground infrastructure, including channeled blocks made of exotic stones like granite and white calcite. Ben questions why these stones were used in hidden underground structures if their only purpose was aesthetic, suggesting that they may have had a functional purpose that is yet to be fully understood. The podcast also touches on the relationship between precision and function, drawing parallels to modern industrial design and manufacturing processes. Ben explains that precision is developed when there is a functional return on investment, and that the advanced technology used in ancient Egyptian construction indicates a specific purpose for the precision objects. The conversation continues with a discussion of the potential technological applications of the precision objects, with Ben mentioning the concept of assemblers, microscopic machines that can assemble and replicate themselves at the atomic level. He also speculates on the possibility of advanced technologies that are either too small or too large for us to comprehend, emphasizing the need for open-mindedness and further research in understanding ancient Egyptian technology. Ben continues by mentioning that there are some places in Egypt where stone structures are falling apart, with whole blocks crumbling from the inside out. He notes that this kind of degradation usually takes millions of years, but in the case of cut stone surfaces, it is happening much faster. He speculates that there may be functional reasons for this, such as certain properties of the stone being sought after by the builders. He then discusses the presence of scoop marks on various stone structures, such as the Sphinx and the unfinished obelisk. These scoop marks are not a natural phenomenon but are believed to be the result of pounding stones used in the quarrying process. However, Ben finds this explanation to be questionable, as the scoop marks are found in areas where it would be difficult for someone to pound the stones. Ben introduces Yusuf Awan, a stonemason and guide who grew up near the Sphinx. Yusuf's father, Hakim Al-Ayawan, was a well-known indigenous wisdom keeper and guide. Ben mentions that Yusuf has his own theories and has done his own research, but he is also knowledgeable in traditional Egyptology. The conversation then shifts to Hakim Al-Ayawan's theories, which include the idea that certain ancient sites in Egypt had acoustical properties and were used as sound hospitals. Ben mentions that there is anecdotal evidence suggesting that these sites had positive effects on people's health. However, Hakim's work was reportedly shut down by Zahi Hawass, the former head of the Supreme Council of Antiquities. Ben discusses Zahi Hawas's role in the exploration of ancient sites in Egypt. He mentions that Hawass has been associated with the Edgar Cayce Foundation, which has been conducting secretive excavations in search of the Hall of Records. Ben also mentions that Hawass has enabled other secretive expeditions and has been involved in drilling experiments around the Sphinx. The conversation then turns to the potential existence of underground chambers beneath the Sphinx and the Giza Plateau. Ben mentions that there is evidence of chambers and tunnels, but it is unclear if they have been explored or if anything has been found inside them. He expresses his hope that any discoveries made in these chambers will be shared with the public. Ben discusses the motivations behind Zahi Hawass's actions, speculating that money and power may be factors. He also mentions that Hawass benefits financially from people visiting Egypt. However, he acknowledges that Hawass has also done a lot for Egyptology and has championed the return of artifacts to Egypt. The conversation touches on the evidence of genetic engineering in human evolution, including the possibility that humans were genetically engineered by another species. Ben mentions the work of Lloyd Pye, who suggested that certain genetic oddities in humans could be indications of genetic engineering. He also mentions the possibility of other species of hominids being involved in the ancient civilization. Ben continues by expressing his desire for any discoveries made in Egypt to be shared with the world. He believes that the information should be made public and that everyone should have the opportunity to see and learn from it. Ben explores the possibility of panspermia, the idea that life on Earth may have been seeded by another civilization or arrived from another planet. He acknowledges that there is ongoing research in this field and that it is difficult to rule out such possibilities based on the available evidence. He also mentions the idea of a more direct intervention into evolution at a later time, although he does not express a personal belief in this theory. The discussion then shifts to the topic of ancient quarries and the precision with which stones were extracted. Ben presents evidence of scoop marks on stones that indicate a more advanced quarrying technique than the pounding stone hypothesis suggests. He argues that the most primitive technology should not be responsible for extracting the largest and heaviest artifacts. He also highlights the presence of pre-dynastic artwork in the quarries, suggesting that they were created before the dynastic civilization began. The conversation then turns to the topic of ancient vases, specifically those made from hard stones like granite. Ben emphasizes the incredible symmetry and thinness of these vases, as well as the fact that they were made during pre-dynastic times. He questions the mainstream hypothesis that these vases were made using simple tools like chisels and pounding stones, considering the precision and complexity involved. Ben discusses the recent use of structured light scanning to analyze a privately owned pre-dynastic rose granite vase. This scanning technique allows for the creation of a highly accurate 3D model of the artifact. Professional metrologists analyze the scan and find astonishing levels of precision in the vase's design and construction. They compare various surfaces and angles, demonstrating the meticulous craftsmanship involved. The conversation then delves into the mathematical and geometric analysis of the vase conducted by a cryptographer named Mark. He discovers the presence of sacred geometry, including the circle of life and the golden ratio, in the vase's design. Mark also identifies a mathematical algorithm, called the radial traversal pattern, that describes the interrelationships between the various curves and circles on the vase. This algorithm proves that the design of the vase was intentional and not accidental. Mark's analysis leads to the conclusion that the vase was designed using mathematical principles and that it could not have been created without the use of a computer or Turing machine. Ben emphasizes the significance of this finding, as it challenges the mainstream belief that ancient civilizations did not possess advanced technology. He sees the vase as a time capsule that showcases the knowledge and understanding of its creators. Ben continues by explaining how he became interested in ancient civilizations and the mysteries surrounding their technological capabilities. He discusses his fascination with the precision and craftsmanship of ancient artifacts, particularly vases, and how they challenge the conventional narrative of human history. The conversation then delves into the discovery of a specific vase that Ben and his team have been studying. He describes how a friend, whom he refers to as Nick, acquired the vase and brought it to his attention. Nick was astounded by the precision and complexity of the vase, and it sparked a deep curiosity in him. Ben explains that the vase seems to encode sacred geometry, suggesting that it holds profound knowledge about the universe and the capabilities of its creators. Ben draws a parallel between the vase and the golden records that were sent into space on the Voyager space probes in the 1970s. He suggests that the vase may be like a time capsule, sent through time rather than space, to convey information about the past and the advanced technology of ancient civilizations. The conversation then shifts to the process of analyzing the vase. Ben explains that they use structured light scanning and computed tomography machines to measure the precision of the vase. The results were astonishing, with the vase exhibiting levels of precision that are difficult to achieve even with modern technology. Ben emphasizes that the metrology of the vase is undeniable and challenges the notion that such precision could be achieved by hand. Ben also discusses the cost of acquiring these vases and expresses his gratitude to individuals who have been inspired by his work and have the means to collect and allow analysis of these artifacts. He mentions that they are working on creating a standardized process to propose to museums for further research. The conversation touches on the potential suppression or dismissal of their findings. Ben acknowledges that there are already people dismissing the vases as fake or dismissing sacred geometry as pseudoscience. However, he argues that the evidence of the vases' precision and the encoded knowledge they contain is difficult to refute. He challenges skeptics to attempt to recreate the vases and achieve similar levels of precision. Ben concludes by expressing his excitement for future research and the potential to apply their scanning techniques to other artifacts, such as Roman statues and boxes. He believes that this technology has the potential to uncover more about ancient civilizations and challenge established historical narratives. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe.